Hey everybody, it's me Stacey here at Scrapbooking Made Simple. It's time for Saturday with Stacey, YouTube number 236. Now, if you follow us on Facebook, you know that I've been teasing that we have a flash sale today, and we do. But not one, two flash sales today, which we've never done before. Holy smokes, artichokes. This YouTube is really to show off the brand new watercolor pencils from Nuvo and the Tombow watercolor markers that we've brought in, and kind of show you the difference between them and how to use them both. Sort of a do's and a don'ts of watercolor pencils and watercolor markers. But then Tonic said, well, we have these items, we would be interested in you flash selling for us. And Prima had this wonderful product, and it just so happened that it all worked together. So I said, okay, well, we'll do both of them at the exact same time. Oh, so when I tilt down for today, the very first thing I'm going to show you is the flash sale product. I'm not going to show you the samples yet. That's going to wait till the end. But I am going to show you what's on each flash sale. That way, if you love it, if you even like it, you go and you order it, because flash sale product is limited. Not to 100 or 200 or even 300, but I don't have thousands of any of this. So I want to show you what it is first, and then if you love it, you can put me on pause and go order it and get that phenomenal price that we're going to bring it to you for. And if you don't, then you can continue through, because what I have to show you on the watercolor markers and the watercolor pencils, I think will, one, answer some questions for you, two, inspire you to get them out if you already own them, and three, if you've never seen them before, show you different ways to color that's super fast and super easy and not overly technique-y. But you will want to take notes. So if you want to pause me right now and go get a piece of paper and a pencil, there's my pause face. Okay, you're back. The reason I do a pause face is because I hate it when somebody pauses you and your eyes are like half closed. I don't want that look. We also have winter chicken dinner to talk about, and that was on last week's cut in foil dies plates for your Go Press and Foil machine. But oh no, we showed you how to use them without ever needing a Go Press and Foil machine. All you need is your die cutting machine. And I was so excited because Aussie Andrew, he's the owner of the company of Couture Creations. He's down in Australia, hence the reason Aussie Andrew, because I also have Arizona Andrew, and I have one more Andrew who's just Andrew. But Aussie Andrew had never seen them used just inking them up and sending them through your machine and transferring that ink. And he loved when I took out the black paper and that Brilliance ink. He was like, oh my gosh. So that made my heart happy, because we always want to do the very best we can for a manufacturer. They don't pay us for these YouTubes. You can't pay me for a YouTube. That way I can be completely honest, and I can show you ways to use the product that maybe the manufacturer hadn't thought about without having to tell them in advance. So I was excited that he was excited. And for our winter chicken dinners this week, you're going to win some of that product. Wahoo Kachoo. How do you get a chance to be a winner here at Scrapbooking Made Simple on our YouTubes? It's so easy. You have to have a username and login for YouTube. Just go to YouTube and create a username and login. And if you have a Gmail account, you can log in with your Gmail account. And if you search Scrapbooking Made Simple, you'll find our channel. You just hit the subscribe button, and then you can post a comment on this YouTube. And we have a random picker go through all the comments. We tell them we have 1 through 822. We ask it to pick 2 numbers, and then we know who our winter chicken dinner is. And these lucky peeps are going to win some wonderful product from last week's YouTube. So you never know when it's going to be your turn to hear your name, but I guarantee you, if you don't post a comment, you'll never hear your name. It's like what my husband tells me about the lottery. I keep saying, when are we going to win? And he says, well, honey, you've got to go play to win. But I work so hard for my money, and I don't know. Anyway, like I don't gamble in Vegas either. So Our winners from last week are, and that was from YouTube 235, are Annette Ho, Hugh Ho, Annette Ho. I'm going to go with that. Somebody said, can you just put them up since you can't pronounce them? I don't know if the camera will zoom in on it. There you go. Can you see that? I don't know if you can see your name, but there you go. I got the Annette part right. Congratulations. You're a winner, chicken dinner, but you're not alone. You have a friend in Doris. Dieturl? I'm going with Dieturl? Doris. Okay, I'm going to hold it up. Try and have the camera zoom in on it. Not sure if it's going to zoom in or not. And hopefully if you see that and that's your name, you both are doing winner, chicken dinner. I finally won. I'm a winner. And how do you claim your prize? You just go to scrapbookingmadesimple.com. Look for the link that says winner, chicken dinner. Follow the directions. We'll confirm that you are our winner, and we will get your prize right out to you. Kayla, sweet Kayla, will get your prize right out to you. You have 30 days from the original air date of this YouTube to claim your prize. And if you don't, it goes into the bin of misfit prizes that we use for our anniversary sale when we give away 100 prizes. So I'll tell you, lots of you have been right on the money claiming your prize, which is good. That's what we want. So Doris and Annette, don't let me down. Go claim your prize. You want to win. You've got some wonderful products coming your way. You can't go wrong. Now, I'm going to tilt on down and I am going to show you what the free make and take is going on in the store right now. But then I am going to also show you the flash sale specials, and that way you're not waiting till the whole end of the YouTube to figure out whether you want it or not. But if you don't want it now, after you watch the YouTube, you may want it. Especially when you see all the wonderful samples we have for you. The prices are amazing. It's affordable for everybody, and it's February now. If you ordered them for Christmas, wahoo kachoo, because you're not going to see these prices again for this product. Once we're sold out, we're sold out. And some of it is kind of Christmas related, but we took it in a completely different direction to show you how you can take something Christmas related and make it not. So I'm going to tilt on down. We're going to get started for today. And it's good to see everybody. Wahoo kachoo. Down we go. All right. So I'm wearing my new Disney sweatshirt with my polka dots. Love, love, love my new Disney sweatshirt. Part of my addition to my, there we go, to my sweatshirt collection. All right. So this is the free make and take that's going on downstairs right now. And we did a watercolor wash on the back, and we did watercolor on the front, which were cut with dies from Tonic Studios that are part of the flash sale. So cute, right? Darling little card, and very, very, very easy to make. So I'm going to start with the flash sale from Tonic. It includes 11 different dies. So if you're a die cutter, this is going to be something of interest to you. And if you're not, don't worry. The next one, the Prima flash sale, might be right up for you. So you can see that they absolutely have a little bit of a Christmas feel. Well, hello. That's not a little bit of a Christmas feel. That's Christmas. So there, you've got the two. You've got 11 different dies. They retailed for $7.99 each. I'm going to walk you through. We have the pine cone, the mistletoe sprig, the holly leaf, the berry sprig, and mind you, that berry sprig is what we used for this one. Really darling, isn't it? Love, love, love. And the mistletoe sprig is what we also used for this one. So we used the berry sprig and the mistletoe sprig to make our So Not Christmas card. So we have the berry sprig, we have the teardrop bauble, we have the star bauble, the pine leaf, which I will show you how we use the pine leaf differently, the round bauble, the fern leaf, the acorn leaf, and the acorn sprig. All of them. So all 11 dies are part of the bundle collection on a flash sale. They retailed for a little over, well, almost $88. $87.89, I think, is what they retailed for. Your price for all of them is $21.99. That is 75%, I believe, off of the retail price. All of it. You get all of them. So if you have gifts that you need to get for holidays, do your buying now, because first off, they do have Christmas related into them. You'll have plenty of time to get them in. No worries, easy peasy there. And you got a price that allows you to give somebody, a crafty friend, or many crafty friends. You can split them up and give a friend 2 or 3, and then another crafty friend 2 or 3 for $21.99. You really can't go wrong. It's a lot of dies for $21.99. And they are all from Tonic Studios, part of their Rococo line. They're fabulous. And they're yours. And they don't have to be Christmas. Wait, I'll show you what we did with them. Now, you say, oh, but Stacey, I don't have a die cutting machine. It's on my wish list. I really, 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 really want a die cutting machine. That's okay. I've got a Prima flash sale for you. I have got 6x6 paper pads, but these aren't just any kind of paper pads. These are watercolor paper pads. There's 4 different styles, and I am going to be using these today in today's YouTube, along with some of the dies from Tonic. Now these paper pads, let's see if I can find an open one. These paper pads are printed on watercolor paper, and we're going to be playing with them. But then when you flip the page, it looks like there's nothing there, like it's just a plain piece of watercolor paper. But oh no, I don't know if I can get if I can bounce. Oh, there you can see, there's a resist on there. And wait till you see how we color this. So easy peasy. So for those of you who are not die cutters, oh my gosh, again, an amazing deal. They retail for $5 each. That makes them $20 for all 4. You're going to get them $10 for all of it. That's 50% off the retail price. There's 12 sheets in each one. And again, I'm going to be using these and the dies today when we play with our brand new Nuvo watercolor pencils. Brand new. I'm the first in the country to have them. And our Tombow dual brush markers. We're going to be playing with those as well. I love these pads. They're beautiful. I didn't appreciate them until I opened them up and actually played with them, because I thought, well, you know what? I'm a show me type of girl. You got to show me. And they sent them and I loved them and I had to have them, but they are on a flash sale. So you've got 2. You've got the 6x6 paper pads, all 4 for $10. And you've got 11 dies from Tonic Studios, $87.89 for $21.99. You've got your choice of both. One, you like the paper better. You don't do die cutting. You do die cutting, but you're not big into the paper. You have your choice. They are limited. So I'm going to ask, if we were to sell out, please be kind to me, please. I bring in as many as the manufacturer has. Truly, I do. And they are on a really great value. And if they do sell out, notify me, because people cancel their orders or don't pay for their orders all the time, and then they go back into inventory, and at the same price, we don't raise the price after the sale is over. They'll go back in inventory for the flash sale price, and you may be able to get them then. So that is what we are working with today, along with the brand new Nuvo watercolor pencils. They have 2 new sets. They have the Brilliantly Vibrant and the Hair and Skin Tones. And from our friends at Tombow. They're dual brush markers. So what say we begin? Now, I'm going to start with just basic watercolor paper because perhaps you haven't seen watercolor pencils before. And there's some do's and there's some don'ts with a watercolor pencil. I'm going to grab the red. So just a lovely pencil, easy to use, well made because it's a Tonic product. But what some people think that you need to do with a watercolor pencil, they want you to dip it in the water. They think you should dip it in the water and then color with it. And that is no. No, you're going to color with it and then add the water. You want to keep this tip as dry as possible. You don't want your watercolor pencils getting wet. No, you want to put down that watercolor and then you put down that pencil and then use a paintbrush to move it around. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So if I just color on watercolor paper, and I'm using Strathmore. Right now it doesn't look like much. It just looks like I colored with a crayon. But then I can take my flathead brush, if you're doing detail work, a point brush. I've got a little bit of water right here. I'm gonna dip it in, get my paintbrush wet. I usually dip it off or tap it on me just to get the excess off, and then add it to my paper. And what's going to happen is that what looks like crayon is going to change into a paint and let you paint with it. That's pretty wonderful. So I'm just coloring, and let's add some yellow down here. Maybe some up here. I can put my paintbrush back in, dab off a little bit of my color. Let's grab a paper towel and let's move our yellow around. And with that water, it just dissolves into this beautiful paint that moves easy. And because you're on watercolor paper, the paper just holds its shape. You can blend right into each other. I can swirl. I'm taking that orange and blending it into the yellow and blending it into the red. I've got some yellow up here. And you can just make yourself the most beautiful background ever. What you don't want to do is get the tip of that pencil wet. Let's add some more yellow. I like yellow. Yellow is my base color for just about everything. Can you see how I'm avoiding where I've already added color? I'm trying, because it's wet, I'm trying to add this yellow onto that yellow onto the bottom. So I can just pull that color right in. Move that color on up and just make a lovely background. Now, why would I want to make a lovely background? Well, maybe you're card making, or maybe you need a mat for one of your layouts and you can't find a paper that's going to work for you. You just can't find a paper. You want specific colors and you're trying to match something, or you're doing it in somebody's favorite colors. Well, that's where watercoloring comes in really handy, because you can make your own. You just make your own. Now this is going to dry, and then I can do anything I want with it. I can die cut it, I can use it as a mat, I can stamp on it. It's whatever makes my heart happy. And it's really very easy to do. And again, the colors really blend just so beautifully. Just a little bit of color, you just scribble You just scribble. Get your paintbrush nice and wet. And then let the water do its job. Let the water do its job. You can swirl. That's what a watercolor pencil does. The colors tend to be lighter and more pastel-y. And when your paper is 100% dry, you can go back and add more color if you want. What you don't want to do is take that and, well, you really don't want to go on top of it. Can you see how when I'm going on top of it, it's not giving me a nice, when I colored it looked like crayon, now it just looks like scratch marks. And what can happen while it's still wet is it can be hard to get some of those scratch marks out. Blending them out is going to be very difficult. So I can sit here and keep going and going and going and going, but I'm going to have a hard time getting some of those scratch marks out because the pencil was wet. The paper was wet when I put my pencil on it. Same thing if you were to dip your pencil into your water. Now I've got it wet, and I come back here, and it can be difficult for some of the, can you see how it didn't go down really pretty? It left little blotches. I may be able to, I may not be able to get some of those blotches out. Yeah. So I can work it and work it and work it, but you can see the scratch marks as it's drying. So you want to keep your pencils as dry as possible. That's your goal. Just keep them as dry as you can. Use the side of your pencil to add your, so that's a good way to see the difference. Can you see how this has been put down because it was wet versus a dry pencil? You want to keep those pencils as dry as possible because then it's not hard to move. Those lines will disappear. I'm going to struggle with those lines there because the pencil was wet. But here they're just going to blend right away. Can you see the difference? Wet pencil, dry pencil, wet pencil, dry pencil. So some people, when they get their watercolor pencils, again, they think that they're supposed to put the pencil in the water and then go to their paper and then move it with the paintbrush. That's just not going to work for you. You want to color with your pencil first, then add your water with your paintbrush. And look at how pretty it is when you do that versus when you're using the pencil. And you can see the scratch marks up there too. So watercolor pencils generally give you a very a lighter, more soft color. You can darken them up. You just have to add more watercolor pencil once it's all dry. You'll go back and you would add more color to it, and you've got a very beautiful gradation right there. They absolutely blend with the other watercolor pencils. I could take my yellow and put it on my dry area because my yellow pencil is dry. Let's see if we can get it to blend in. Yeah, there we go. So you can see the yellow overlapping on the blue and starting to make another color. They're meant to blend. That's what watercolor pencils do. What they don't do well is work when they're wet. Now, watercolor pencils are very different than a pen. Let's see. This one's wet. These are dry. Watercolor pencils are very different than a pen, a watercolor pen, or the Tombow, they call them just a dual tip water-based pen. And these are going to give you a slightly more vibrant color, and they're going to blend beautifully as well. Let's take a yellow and just kind of, and let's move that around. And you're going to see how quickly that moves with water. You would think it wouldn't, because our memento markers will not move with water, which means that a Tombow marker is not good if you're planning on adding water. So if you're gonna stamp with this, and I'll show you how to stamp with this, and then you want to add your Copic markers to it to color it in, oh, that's not going to work so well, because the minute you add the wetness, any wetness to it, it's going to start to move. And look at how easy that moved. Simple. You can go in there and swirl it. I could add other colors. And move it and paint with it and make a background that way. I can also combine my watercolor pencils with my Tombow markers. I can absolutely combine them. So if you've got some of both, don't think that they have to work independently of each other, because they don't. You have the opportunity to play and to experiment if you've got a few of these and a few of those. It's not necessarily about having an entire collection of something, but using what you've got. And I bet most of you may already have some form of a watercolor pencil, and also may have a few of the Tombow dual brush markers, because they've been around forever, which is kind of nice. That tells you that it's a quality product. When a product's been around for, gosh, I want to say 15 to 20 years, maybe even longer, that tells you that the product's a great product. Look at, I use pencils and markers. Now, if you don't have watercolor pencils, it's to go out and buy them. They're not an expensive thing. The Tombow, or the Nuvo sets, are $14.99, and you get 12 colors. They're a lovely product. They're going to be better than what you're going to find at your typical, box store, your Crayola or some of the others, but they're not so expensive that you can't afford them. They're not the premium fine art grade, but they're not also the low grade. They're a nice, happy crafting grade that allows you to use them and be successful with them every time without spending a fortune. And like I said, if you have a little bit of this and a little bit of that, you can play. You've got opportunity. But you can see how the watercolor pencil is a little bit lighter in tone than the markers. And they're both absolutely lovely. And look at this. I know some of you are going to say, oh, but what would I do with that? Oh my goodness gracious, what wouldn't you do? I'm going to do something with this. Even with the scratch marks in it, I'm going to do something with this. We're going to finish this off. I'm going to stamp on it or do something with it. Let's see, do I have a memento pad with me? I do. Okay, later on I'm going to use the memento pad and we're going to do something with that. So between pencils and markers, pencils, softer tone, very easy to work with. fewer colors, but easy to carry. You've got 2 sets and it covers everything that you will need, from hair and skin tones to your vibrant colors. At $14.99 for the, each set, and then it's on a YouTube Yummy, you're gonna have enough to do with what you wanna do. You're not buying the highest grade watercolor pencil out there, but you're also not buying, I don't wanna say, how do I say this? You're buying quality product at an affordable price. Because there are other watercolor pencils out there that that aren't as nice. They are less money, but you're not going to get the better result. And you always want to start with a quality product because that's going to help you achieve a quality result. If you're starting with a lesser product, it's hard to achieve that beautiful look with a lesser product. So the Nuvos are lovely. And then we have the Tombows, and they're a dual brush. So you've got a fine tip and you've got a brush tip. Now, why are these different than perhaps clean color? Because I had the exact same question, because we do a lot with clean color markers, love clean color markers. But clean color markers have a bristle tip as opposed to, I think this is sponge or felt, a sponge tip. So the bristle tip will fan out, unlike this one, which means that this, with the dual tip, you can draw, you can color like your clean color, but it's also easier to stamp with. You're like, stamp with it? Yes. So I'm gonna pull over just a cute little stamp that I have, and I'm going to use one of my Do Crafts blocks. So this is the first set of Do Crafts blocks. You get all the blocks for $12.50 in the little storage case. It's a really good value. Now, this is a cling stamp, so cling or clear, clings right to your block, stays on there. When you're done using it, you just peel it right off and put it away, and then when you need it again, you put it right back on, and so on and so forth. If for any reason it stops clinging, then you just need to clean your block and your stamp with some dishwashing detergent, something mild like Palmolive, and that will clean it all up, let it dry, and then all of a sudden it will start to cling again. Now, because these are markers, just like with the Memento, you can go in and you can color right on the marker, just like you could with your Memento markers. So I am coloring right on my stamp. And I added a little bit of that color. I'm going to add a little bit of the darker purple, and I am just coloring up my stamp. Now, can you see that I'm using the side of my marker, not the tip? I'm going to use the side of my marker to add the color. And I added a lighter color in the center, and I'm putting a darker color around for the main flower, but I wanted my center stem to be a little bit lighter. And then I'm going to take a light green and ink that up. And then I'm going to take a darker green. You always start with your lighter color, and then if you want to add a little bit of darker color, you go back in with a darker marker to add that darker color. Because if you start with a dark color, it's very hard for that light color to then come through. So I've inked up my stamp. Now you can't do that with a stamp pad. I can't take different colors of Memento, even in Dewdrop, and be careful enough not to get all over the stamp. So markers are a help. Will Memento markers do this? Absolutely. Do you need to huff? Yes. Okay, quickly. What is huffing? Ooh, lots of Stacey. Okay, so my stamp is ready. I just need to huff on it. My husband would say, I'm getting rid of some of my hot air. But if you huff on it, that remoistens the stamp so that it's ready to go. I'm gonna grab my stamp pad, my gush pad, put it down, give a nice huff, and stamp. 1, 2, 3, A, B, C. And I've got my image. And you're gonna say, well, yes, and I can do that with my Memento markers, and you can. But the beautiful thing about Memento ink is that it doesn't move with water. So you can use it with, if you wanted to stamp your image and then go in and watercolor, absolutely. Let's clean this off and, well, we'll get there. We'll try and get there. So the Memento doesn't move with water, where the Tombow does move with water. And you're going to say, but why do I want it to move with water? Well, I could take my paintbrush, get it a little wet, and staying within my lines, kind of drag some of that paint out. So very, very quickly, staying within my lines, little bit of water, grab that paint and just drag it right on in. I want to show you what I'm doing. Very quickly, I'm coloring in my stamp. And because I'm using the exact color I stamped with, just adding water, it's a monotone. So you know it's going to match perfectly. You can't do that with a Memento. A Memento will let you stamp and then color in with something else, and it won't move when you add the water. But it won't let you do this. And a clean color marker will let you color in, but it won't let you ink up your stamp. It's kind of hard because it's got that bristle tip which fans out. So when you're trying to get those fine lines and you're dealing with a bristle tip that's fanning everywhere, that doesn't work either. So you always want to use the right marker for the thing you're trying to do. So I can come in here with my green and just put a little bit of water on it, and it grabs some of that color. And without having to pull anything else out, I've colored my stamped image. And I did this on my 100-pound Simply Defined paper. Now if I want to go back in there and add some more color, if I want to add some more color into some of this, I absolutely can. It's entirely up to you. If I wanted to use the purple and then stamp a sentiment in the exact same color purple so that everything matches, I can. I'm just not going to add water to that sentiment to make it move. But I wanted to be fast and quick and color, and all I did was stamp and take the ink and have that ink move all by itself. It just moved all by itself with a little bit of water. And it makes me look like a rock star without having to be a great colorer. Easy to do. Ink. Ink it up. Use as many colors as you want. Use the side of your pen, not the tip of your pen. Give it a little bit of hot air. ABC, 1, 2, 3. There's my image. And I can leave it just like that. I don't have to do anything else. I could probably huff again and do generational stamping if I wanted. So now I'm even a lighter monotone. But then if I really wanted, I could go in there get a little bit of water, grab that color, and pull it in, and instantly paint my stamp. And because you're using the same color as the ink you stamped with, it's just diluted a little bit with that water, giving you that beautiful monotone look, and it matches perfect. It's in the same hue. A little bit more water. What do you think? Now, this has dried, as has this one. I've got both of these that are now dry. And if I want to, I can now die cut with them. What do you mean die cut? Well, when we put together this card, we made a background like this. And then we took the tonic dyes and we used them to die cut in different places. We just grabbed different colors, because what it looks like here versus what it looks like when you're die cutting it is completely different. I'm going to move this out of the way for just a minute. Completely different. Let me play with the Nuvo pencils again really quick. So let's do some orange. And again, I'm not doing my tip. I'm using my side of my pencil. The side of my pencil. And maybe a little bit of brown. The side of my pencil. And I'm coloring right into each other. And my yellow. And my yellow's going into my orange. My yellow's going into my brown. I have no idea what this is going to look like when it comes out. Maybe some more orange down here. And let's see what happens. So right now I've just got a big old coloring hot mess. Let's take my brush and my paper towel. And let's just blend those colors. Clean my brush out, get into this yellow. Get it swirling and moving and going and mixing in. Okay, kind of looks like meh. It's wet. Kind of looks meh. Not too exciting, but let's take it and die cut it. So I'm going to die cut both. And I am going to grab that pin as well. So let's bring over our die cut machine. I've got my Big Shot machine right here. Move my water out of the way. I'm going to use my multi-purpose platform. Whether you have the long one or the small one makes no difference. The machines now come with the long version. Makes no difference which one you have. I'm going to put my cut plate down. I'm going to put my paper there. I'm going to put one of these right there. Can I turn them this way and do two at the same time? Oh, I can. And let's just trim this down a little bit so it can fit. So I've got one die here. And I'm going to put one die here. Put my top plate on. And I'm going to send them both through at the exact same time. And I'm going to roll. So my do not cut plate is on my top. I've got 2 dies going through watercolor paper. And they're not intricate dies, but I'm still going to bring them back just because watercolor paper tends to be a heavier paper. It's about 140 pounds versus a typical 80 or 100 pound cardstock. Oh, no, you don't. I thought we had to talk about this last week. I can feel it vibrating. Move it up, move it down. Okay, it felt like it stopped. Pop it out. Pop out my little pieces. So this is one of the dies that's in the bundle for $21.99. Now, technically it's a Holly something or other, I guess. But for right now, it looks very happy and very springy. Get that piece out too. Look at how pretty it is when you die cut using your watercolor paper. Actually, this can be done on 100 pound too. Look at how pretty that is. Very happy, very springy. But I've also got this one over here. Again, very easy to do. So you can make your own colors, which is really, really nice and really affordable. And again, if you're going to be die cutting with them, you don't need watercolor paper. You can just use the heaviest white cardstock you've got. You can, because when you die cut, anything that you don't like is going to disappear. The girls were worried that you're going to see streaks, but you don't. They're beautiful. They're absolutely beautiful. And it's done with the dies from Tonic on watercolor paper. Easy to do, right? And you could do the same thing if you were using your Tombow pens. Now, if you wanted to go back and say you wanted to add more color to this, well, you've got a couple different ways of doing that. You say, Stacey, that's not enough color. It's too bright or too plain, too light. You have a couple different ways of doing that. You can, hopefully this is dry enough, go back in and just add a little bit of color. Add a little bit of color at the bottom. Let's see if it'll zoom in. Now, I'm not going to leave it like that. I'm going to continue. I'm going to take a little bit of water. And I'm going to watercolor that right in. Look at it. Huh. It was dry enough. So I can add, let's add a little bit of brown maybe. Add a little bit of brown here, a little bit of brown there. So they're very, very, very forgiving. If you want to add more color to it, you just have to give it an opportunity to dry a little bit and then put in your color. So now I'm adding depth and dimension to what I'm doing. Look at that. Done with some pencils. Amazing, right? Awesome, easy. And you don't have to be a pro at coloring. The water does it for you. I was telling one of the SMS girls, you gotta let the watercolor pencils be what they are. They're a watercolor pencil. Let the water move them and do the work and do the blending for you. Give that water the opportunity to make something that is so flat like paper become alive and dimensional. They're wonderful. And for beginners, intermediates, or advanced, they give you an opportunity to always be successful. You do not have to be a crafter that has been crafting forever to use watercolor pencils. They're one of the easiest ways to start coloring because they are so forgiving. They really are. And right now, all we've talked about is paper and watercolor pencils. If you've got dyes, great. If you don't, that's okay. Start making your backgrounds. Start making mats for everything you want to do. There's beautiful things to be done, and you will be successful with watercolor pencils. You just have to give them the opportunity to be what they are. They just need water and a little bit of love from you and a little bit of movement here and a little bit of movement there. Let's see if I add more. I don't know. I guess I can add more. My pencil's still a little wet. Add a little more blue and pull a little bit more water and then pull that blue out and make it an even deeper color. Reach it up a little even higher into the purple to add more depth and dimension. Let them be what they are. And when you die cut out of it, no two are going to be the same. Let's take and die cut one more time. This time I'm going to use just this one sheet. So my multi-purpose platform completely closed, my cut plate, my paper, my dies with the ridges against them because these are wafer dies and those little ridges are what's cutting everything. And let's go, can I get it to fit? Okay, there. And, or maybe this one. Oh no, I'll do this one here and this one here. And I'm going to cut both of them at the same time. Then I've got my cut plate right on top. And send it on through. Little creaks and cracks if you hear them, it's okay. Keep rolling. I'm going to bring it on back just because it's easier. They're not intricate dies. They do not require a precision base plate. Take it off to the side. Pull it out. Ooh. Oh, no, 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 no. Oh, no. Oh. We are going to have a taco. And then I just zoomed in. Okay. It felt like it stopped. Somebody said it's the stabilization. I'm going to have to go in and have it looked at because it's driving me crazy. Pop my little pieces out. Let's get rid of them all. And then I can just start to build. And again, these are supposed to be Christmas dies. Why? They can be beautiful. You can make them beautiful depending on the colors that you choose. You can make them anything you want. It's up to you. So that's using watercolor markers and watercolor pencils on either watercolor paper or 100-pound and die cutting with it. The pencils are so forgiving and easiest to use. But then we have the Prima pads. Let's see. I think, oh, this one's lovely. Okay, so I'm going to use this one. And I'm going to use it with my marker. And I'm going to go in. Now this is on watercolor paper. They've already printed on watercolor paper for you. I'm going to go in and I'm just going to color. I'm going to put some color all around. I'm going to leave some negative space because if you color the whole thing, Well, then it's all going to be the same exact yellow. You need to leave room when you're watercoloring for either the pencil or the marker to move. It has to move. If it has no place to move to, meaning the open space, the color's going to be the same yellow all the way through. But when I add my water, the paint just starts to move. It becomes a paint. It goes from a marker to a paint. And you saw all I did was kind of put it all over the place. And I left some negative space, that white space, so that the paint has some place to move to. So I get highs and lows and midtones and shadows. And I wasn't picky on my coloring. I mean, I literally scribbled. And I'm letting that paint do its thing. I'm letting that marker move and do what it's meant to do, which is to color and to blend. But you said, Stacey, why did you leave that white space? Why don't you color that in? Well, I'm going to, but can you see the different hues of yellow from really dark to really light? And if I want to pick up some of that yellow, I can add more water and pick up some of the color. So it's faded, it's lighter. I can also take a little paper towel and blot to lighten up some of that color. See how I lighten that? And then all I have to do is go back in and kind of swirl it around a little bit and blend it together. But I did leave white space. Why did I do that? Well, I'm going to take my red, because I love red and yellow. And instead of putting my red straight onto my paper, I'm just going to throw a little bit of my red right onto my craft mat, because you can palette paint with these markers too. So I can add water into my red as much as I want. How light do you want your color? The more water you use, the more diluted your color will be. And I'm going to come in here, and in those white spaces, I'm going to add a little bit of my red. And I'm going to blend it in so that where it overlaps with the yellow, it's going to make orange. Maybe I want a little darker red. If I want a little darker red, add a little more marker. And then I'm going to blend it together. And where it's mixing with the yellow, it's making an orangey color. Look at how easy this is. This is not being precise. This is not, the less precise you are, usually the better they come out. Don't overthink this. Just have fun and let it be what it is. Because Prima has put it on watercolor paper for you. Look at how pretty it is. And if I want to add more color, I just add. Just pick it right up. If I want more color, add more color. But it gives you these beautiful blends that look like you took forever to do, when really all you did was scribble. That's all we did was scribble. And then you can take this and you can cut your card front out of it. You can make a mat out of it. You can die cut out of it. You can take your ovals, your must-have ovals or your circles, and die cut your shapes out of it. It's whatever you want to do. You can use it for your mixed media, your altered art, but you just used markers. That's all we used was markers. The same marker that we used to do this. which is the same marker that we used to make the blue. Here. No, did we make the, yeah, we made the blue with that. The purple is watercolor pencil. So which do you like better? Do you like the markers? Do you like the pencils? But the markers aren't done yet. Now, can you use your watercolor pencils on this? Absolutely. Let's go to another page. Absolutely, you can. Let's take, again, using my side, let's take my watercolor pencils from Nuvo, and let's just kind of leave some empty space. Let's take my paintbrush, make sure that all my red is out of it, and let's add it. And look at how beautiful that smooths out and blends. Look at how lovely that moves. It's going to be a little softer in color. And I'm going to leave a little bit of white space. I didn't leave too much white space, but I'm going to leave a little bit of white space because then I'm going to come in and I'm going to take my marker, and instead of the red, I'm going to put my yellow down here. And I'm going to clean my brush, and I'm going to add a little bit of water to my yellow, and I'm going to pick that yellow up, and I'm going to come in and I'm going to blend that yellow into that blue, even though it's a pen. They're meant to, they work together. You don't have to choose one over the other. And that means if you've already got some, you have a starting point. You have a place to play. Okay, now my tip is dirty. Do you see that? That is A-okay. The minute the tip goes clear or goes back to its normal color, doesn't matter what it started out as. The markers are able to do tip-to-tip blending. And I can just make this whatever makes my heart happy. You don't necessarily want to dip the markers in the water. You can. It doesn't really change them all that much. You do much better by palette painting with them and dipping them or putting them on your craft mat and then adding water to it. So now you have a combination of your watercolor pencil and your marker. You have both. Easy to do, easy peasy. They both work, especially on these Prima pads because they were meant to take water. Doesn't absorb through the back side. Looky, that's the back side. Pretty cool, huh? Doesn't absorb. But let's get back to this one. And look at how beautiful. The more it dries, the prettier it gets because the colors become more intense. So then I have this, which looks like an empty page, but can you see the resist on it? Prima has printed in a white resist. So I'm going to take my yellow and I'm going to scribble on some yellow. I'm going to take a little bit of my blue and scribble on some blue. And I'm going to take my green and scribble on some green. Have no idea what this is going to look like. We're going to find out together. And then add my water. And just watch it move. And what's going to happen is where Prima put that resist, which means they've pre-embossed this paper. And I'm going to show you in just a second. I'm going to do half of it, and then I'm going to show you, and then I'll do the other half. They've pre-embossed this paper with white embossing powder. So anywhere that pre-embossed image is, the ink is resisting it. It won't sit on top of it. It's moving to the side. Can you see? From scribble to wahoo kachoo. And I'm just adding my water and letting the water do the work. Let the water do what it's supposed to do. So I'm getting closer and closer to being done. And that resist is coming up more and more. And the more it dries, it's going to become a little bit more vibrant. And then I'm done. So this image is the same as this image. They give it to you printed and they give it to you in a resist. Now, if I wanted to add more color, let's say I wanted to add my blue more intense, again, all I have to do is scribble, 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 add a little bit of water, pick it up, and I could go back in and put that color where I want the more blue. Or I could put my yellow if I wanted more yellow. Scribble, scribble, scribble. Oh, I think I just scribbled right into my red. Pick it up and add some more yellow. Point is, you've got options. And we have the resist and we have the regular, done with the pens. Will the watercolor pencils work well on the resist? Not so much. Let me see. I have, I was playing with, oh, here. Okay. So I was playing, here's an image. Let me show you the black and white so you can see the difference. Okay. So here's the image that's on the other page. This one is the one I did in watercolor, and the others I did in the markers, or the watercolor pencils. The other ones I did in the Tombow markers. So these, when I flipped the page, this one was done with the Nuvo watercolor pencils, and the others were done with the Tombow dual brush markers. Can you see? The watercolor pencils, not so much. The pens, oh, beautiful. But on the resist, the watercolor pencils, not so much. On the printed, the watercolor pencils, absolutely gorgeous. The Nuvo watercolor pencils, stunning, absolutely. There, look at, I did this one. I love this one. We made card samples with some of these. And this is combination of the pencils and the pens, because I don't like to be limited. I like everything to work together. I think that you should be able to get the most out of what you have. So with the watercolor pencils being so user-friendly and so easy to change up and add to, they're a lifesaver when it's coming to quick coloring. But then you've got the Tombow markers that allow you to stamp with them and pull that color in so it's automatically colored without you doing anything more to it. To both of them allowing you to just color. Easy peasy. Had fun with this one too. So we'll show you samples of some of the stuff we did with them. Now with the markers, there's also one more added little benefit to it. And that is the blending pen. What did I do with it? It's right here. This is a blending pen. Does it really blend? I don't know if I'd call it a blending pen, but let me show you what it does. So I've got just a piece of paper here, and I'm going to take my, let's take my, I like the blue and the yellows. I'm going to take a little bit of my blue and I'm going to put it right here. I'm then going to pick it up with my blending pen, and hopefully my blending pen is clean. Yes. I'm going to pick it up with my blending pen. So it's kind of like water, but it isn't water. So now I've got it on my blender pen from a dual tip blender pen. And then I can start. And what happens is it does a gradation for you. So it's almost like that Copic Spectrum Noir. Well, I almost wanted to dip it in water. Copic Spectrum Noir, chameleon type pen, only without all the work. You want more color, you make it darker. You you want it to last longer, you pick up more. See how that blend is? So if I wanted to, I suppose I could take and stamp. Let's just use the purple because that's what's already on here. Suppose I could take and stamp this in my purple. I'm not going to do the green. I'm using the side of my pen to get it onto my stamp, not the point. I never use the point unless I'm doing little fine detail work, and I always have the other side which is meant to do that. I'm gonna give my stamp a quick huff. ABC 1, 2, 3. There we go, I've got my image there. And I suppose if I wanted to, I could then take my purple, make sure my blender pen runs clean, even though the nib is a million different colors. Sorry, that didn't zoom. Even though the nib is a million different colors, it's okay as long as the color, as long as it's clear. Pick up some of my color. And then hopefully I don't have too much, but we'll see. And then I could just start at the top. Oh, I do have a lot of color on here, and work my way down. Okay, too much color. Less color. Start at the top. Back and forth, 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 and get my shading in there. Pick up a little more color. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Slow and steady wins the race. And get a little bit of shading in there. Oh, I can. Yay! That works for me. I wonder if I can pick up some color if I go back. Oh, I can pick up color. Back and forth, back and forth. Okay, very cool. So I can do almost like an ombre effect because I've got my blender pen, which just lets me go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And it fades out. Very cool. That's the blender pen. I don't know if it's a blender pen per se. I don't know, because I think most people think if you take this color and you take this color, are they going to blend beautifully together if you take your blender pen? Yeah, not so much. I think that's what most people think of a blender pen. This blender pen works when you palette paint. See, most people would think that I could take my light color and then my dark color and take my blender pen and mix them together so they blend together, but they're really not gonna ever blend. That purple's just gonna take over that light pink and you're never gonna see it again. This blender pen is meant to pick the color up and then lay it down so that you've got that beautiful gradation. You can also do a tip-to-tip blending with these pens. What's a tip-to-tip blending? I know, don't worry, I promise. I'm gonna take my red pen and I'm gonna put it on my yellow. Okay, now my yellow's back to normal. and I was able to make colors without harming my yellow pen. So I was able to make colors, the red and the yellow blended together to make different shades of orange before all the red had been taken out of my nib and went back to straight yellow. Pretty wonderful. And we're going to be using these in upcoming YouTubes along with the watercolor pencils from Nuvo. We're going to be using these too because they are a better quality product that has come to the market, and when we can offer you something that's a better quality for a comparable price, then that's the right thing to do. So I love them both, but now you've seen kind of how both of them work and all the options that you have, from taking your watercolors and die cutting with them, watercolor pencils and just making beautiful backgrounds and die cutting with them, and then going back in and adding the detail and the depth and the dimension. Woo! To being able to stamp with, I don't know where my sample went, but stamp with a watercolor. And then I said we were going to do something with this. So let's just stamp this really, really quick. I have my Memento marker, or my Memento ink. I saw it. Let's see, what stamp do I want to use? How about I pull this one? And I pull this one. Okay, so I've got two stamps. I'm going to put them right back down on my block. So this is kind of a hot mess. This was my sample to show you the difference and not to get your scratch marks if you get your pencils wet. But now let's take my Memento ink. Let's ink it up. Let's grab my gush pad, because you always want to stamp on a gush pad. Let's put my bird right there. 1, 2, 3, A, B, C. Let's pull this off. Let's add, ooh, need a bigger block. Let's grab the bigger block. Let's ink this one up. So even your mistakes can become something beautiful. Even your oopses can become something beautiful. Oh, stop, please. And let's go. A, B, C, 1, 2, 3. And a little more ink. A, B, C, 1, 2, 3. And now all I have to do is trim it down, find a mat for it, trim it on down, leave a little bit of that white space because I like it. Find a beautiful mat for it, and out of an oops comes something beautiful. Truly, there's no mistakes, there's no wrong, there's no, oh, I don't like that. Finish it. Give it the opportunity to be what it can be. If you make a background and you're not thrilled with it, finish it, stamp on it, do something with it, and give it a moment, walk away from it, and then come back and look at it and say, oh my gosh, that looks so much better than I thought it originally did. And this looks so much better than it originally did. I could make a beautiful tag with this. Absolutely gorgeous. I could clip off here, clip off there, and put a piece of ribbon on through and make a stunning tag out of what was me showing you how not to get scratch lines in there. But now that you've stamped on top of it, it's perfect. It's fine. It's lovely. It's perfect. It's yours. You made it. This is your art. It is your art. So, oh my goodness gracious, what did we do? We talked about the Nuvo watercolor pencils. And the most important thing to know about watercolor pencils is to not stick them in the water. That's the most important thing. Keep your pencils as dry as possible. And if you need to add more color to your paper, wait until your paper is dry. You can even take a little heat tool if you're impatient and dry it that way. So watercolor pencils, one of the easiest things to use to color, gives you lots of options, totally blendable, fabulous. The Tombow dual brush, 96 colors. Yes, 96 colors. Our price is, I think they retail for $3.19. We have an everyday price of, I think, $2.36, which means they'll be part of the YouTube Yummy sale, but we'll never sell them lower than $2.36. Amazing colors, and that they will work in conjunction with your Nuvo watercolors. It doesn't have to be one or the other. You can have this set and a few of these and make your heart happy. Then we have the Prima pads, which are just so lovely, and they're different. They give you that, they give you a printed page on watercolor, and then they give you a resist page on watercolor paper. It looks blank, I know, but here's the printed and here's the resist, that you can use watercolor ink or pencils or your markers here, just your markers on the resist. Do you have gelatos? Sure, you can use gelatos on them as well, without question, absolutely. And we have all of the fabulous dies from Tonic Studios. So the Prima pads are on a flash sale, the dies are on a flash sale, the Tombows are already at an everyday low price, and the Nuvo watercolor pencils, well, they're brand new to the United States. We're the very first ones to have them, and I really played with them before I decided I wanted them. Just like the new the Tombow pens, I really played with them before I was certain that this was the right decision to make. And I'm comfortable bringing them to you. They're a great product. All of it is great product from great manufacturers. Just keep in mind that on the paintables, again, the watercolor pencils, not so great on the resist. And take your oopsies and embrace them. Just play. That's all it is playing. All right, let's show you samples. So the first thing I'm going to show you is what the dies were meant to do, which is Christmas. So I've got samples. Let me get some of this out of my way. I've got samples of Christmas because the dies are Christmas related. How cute is that? Isn't that darling? So pretty. They come down to, I think, $1.99 a die from $7.99. $21.99 gets you all 11 of them. Now this was made by Tonic. How do I know? It's huge. It's the biggest card ever. Could you imagine posting this in the United States? Holy smokes, you'd have to take a second mortgage out on your home. But then look at the beautiful wreaths that they did with them. This is not Christmas at all. Beautiful, isn't it? Using the sprigs. Look at, they made a butterfly out of one of them. They're just lovely. Again, tiny treasure for a little girl. Look at that wreath. Is that the cutest thing ever? They used the bauble, but they did it in pink and made it baby. Look outside of what the dies are supposed to be and come up with what they could be. Beautiful winter wonderland wreath. And then we have some big wreaths. They must like wreaths over in the UK because they did all of these. Big wreaths using all the dies. My bow got mushed. big wreath using all the different dies. I don't even know if I can get a full, there we go. But now I want to show you what we did with the dies, which has nothing to do with Christmas. These are both the dies and the watercolor Prima paper. So here's the watercolor Prima paper. Just a very simple, these were my plays. These were sheets that I played with to learn how to use them, to make sure I loved them. And then Yvette took them, again, this is the Prima paper. Yvette took them, and this is watercolor pencil. She took my playing and made them into beautiful cards. Love them. Isn't that gorgeous? That's watercolor pencil. That's the Nuvo watercolor pencil. Here is also the Nuvo watercolor pencil, where we just did darker on the top and just washed that pencil all the way down to nothing and then stamped right on top of it. It says "Sing Your Story" at the bottom, and that is a Stampendous stamp. Watercolor pencils from Nuvo. Then we used the markers and watercolor pencils to make cards, and the dies from Tonic. How cute is that? Tore some paper, did a wash on the back. How cute is that? And a wash is just getting a color really, really, really diluted and then just washing the whole paper so it becomes a light tone of that. Here is also the Nuvo watercolor pencils with a stamped image right over the top of it. And again, this was an oops. This was a sheet that we were going to throw away, and they fetched it out of the trash because you know me, I was going to throw it away, and they made a card out of it. We have the pens, the Tombow pens with the dies from Tonic. Here we have watercolor pencils with the dies from Tonic. How sweet is that card? And these are supposed to be Christmas dies. How darling is that? The Tombow pins on the resist from the Prima pads. So this is one of the resist sheets and one of the Prima pads. And again, we did watercolor on the dies from Tombow, and I did the watercolor pencils on the dies, and I did the Tombow dual brush on the resist from the Prima pads. What do you think? Okay, so we went over a lot. I told you this was a doozy. I just really wanted you to appreciate everything that they have to offer, all the beautiful things that you can do with the watercolor pencils and the watercolor markers, and how they can be used together, but how to keep them separate, how to treat them differently so that you don't ruin what you have. I want you to get the most out of it. And if you already have some of the pencils and the markers, well, hot dang, then you want to take advantage of the flash sale, because really the flash sale, once they're gone, they're gone. So I am going to tilt on up. I'm going to zoom on back. And I'm going to say, okay, you guys, it's me, Stacey, Scrapbooking Made Simple. You're going to find all of this great product at scrapbookingmadesimple.com in the YouTube Yummy Sale category. It'll be at the top of the category list. Please, again, if we sell out of anything in the flash sale, please don't be mad. Please, I gave you fair warning, okay? So we bought as much as we possibly could. The manufacturer sent us both of them sent us everything they possibly could. And so we're able to offer them to you at a phenomenal price. And I hope I hope that you felt that this YouTube, that you learned something about watercolor pencils and the watercolor markers, the Tombow dual brush, because we're going to be using both of them in several upcoming YouTubes because they are a beautiful product, and how the Memento inks are different than the Tombow inks or the clean color inks. So we're gonna work on that a little bit more in future YouTubes too. Okay, it's me, Stacey, Scrapbooking Made Simple. I will see you next week. Don't forget to post your comment for a chance to be a winner chicken dinner. Bye everybody.